Get out the insurance cards, get out the copays. The office is open, my friends, as this video is brought to you by drrodo.com.
Welcome to the Counting Stats Podcast. I'm MLB Content Director at drrodo.com, Lou Landers. You can find all my content at drrodo.com. Check out our fantasy baseball draft guide on sale now. It's been on sale for a while, but will still be on sale over the next few weeks. Don't forget to get that before all your major drafts. Today, gonna look at the post-lockout free agency and trades in Major League Baseball, what they mean for their teams and the players' fantasy values. We had a bunch of stuff happen really in the last 72 hours or so. We'll start with starting pitcher Carlos Rodon signing with the San Francisco Giants, getting a 2-year, $44 million deal from the Giants. He put together the best season of his career in 2021, and he's had injury issues in the past, but the fantasy value has to go up with this news going to San Francisco. They're a really strong team when it comes to acquiring pitchers and getting the best out of them. It helps that they have one of the best pitchers ballparks in all of Major League Baseball. And looking at Rodon, the only issue really is injuries. He's had a number of them throughout his career, and big-time strikeout pitcher who was excellent through the month of July last year before kind of fading. I think he hit around 100, 110 innings and kind of faded away. That might happen again in San Francisco, but the innings you're going to get are going to be elite. So a really nice deal for the Giants for Rodon. And if you have Rodon shares, you should be happy. And if you're drafting soon, you can look at him, certainly not as an SP1, maybe not even as an SP2 because you might only get the 100, 110 innings, but a really, really good SP3 or a solid SP2 who you can supplement maybe with another pitcher who is going to be on a bit of an innings limit or with a really good relief pitcher as well. Many options there, but Rodon, very, very high upside pitcher. Another lefty not goes west, stays west, and that's Clayton Kershaw re-signing with the Los Angeles Dodgers. Not much of a surprise here. It seemed like it was either going to come down to his former team, the Dodgers, or his hometown Texas Rangers. Kershaw, not the pitcher he once was, but still a pretty solid season in 2021. 3.5 ERA, elite strikeout rate of 29.5, very good walk rate of 4.3. Does come with workload concerns, is now 34 years old, has had some injuries holding him back over the past few years, and he only threw 121 2/3 innings last year. With all that being said, though, the peripherals I told you about with the strikeout percentage, the walk percentage, seems to show that he's still a very effective pitcher when he pitches, and the workload concerns are why you're getting him at a pretty nice discount in your drafts. This guy used to be an SP1 and go at an SP1 price. You can now get him as a low SP2 option. And again, may only get 120, 130 innings, but they're going to be very quality innings. So good stuff there with the Dodgers and Kershaw. The Twins and Rangers make a trade, Mitch Garver for Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. And more on Falefa soon. But from the Rangers standpoint, they get an everyday catcher in Garver who was big-time power for 20-plus homers, who can hit in the middle of their order, probably somewhere between Nate Lowe and Corey Seager as it stands now, splitting up those lefties. So you might even hit in the cleanup spot, which is a really, really nice spot from a fantasy perspective. From the Rangers standpoint as well, trading away Kiner-Falefa does open up at bats. Maybe it's Nick Solak, maybe it's Andy Ibanez. Either way, this is a way for these guys to get some more at-bats. Solak, who had questionable playing time for a while, probably doesn't, at least at this moment, so that's good. On the Twins side, the trade of Garver opened up regular playing time for Ryan Jeffers for about 24 hours, that is. More on that in a bit as well. Jeffers should still see more at-bats than he did a year ago, but things have become more complicated. Blue Jays sign starting pitcher Yusei Kikuchi, a good move by the Toronto Blue Jays. He's going to provide depth in its rotation. They already have Berrios, They already have Manoa. They signed Kevin Gausman. They have Hyun-Jin Ryu. So all Kikuchi does really is provide depth, veteran presence, a guy who can eat some innings. From a fantasy perspective, Kikuchi is going to have a tougher division in the AL East and a tougher ballpark in Toronto, but he does join a team that should provide him with a ton of run support, one of the best lineups in all of Major League Baseball. The move probably doesn't impact his ADP all that much other than now he signed, so there's not really any guessing as to when or where he will be pitching. So that's a key factor there. The Oakland A's trade starting pitcher Chris Bassett to the New York Mets. Bassett being traded has been expected since before the MLB lockout. The A's entering a rebuilding phase, and he was one of the main pieces on the block, including Montas, Sean Manaea, Matt Chapman, Matt Olson, etc. Mets already had added Max Scherzer this offseason to a rotation that featured Jacob deGrom, Carlos Carrasco, and Taijuan Walker. Now adding Bassett goes from being the number 1 starter in Oakland to arguably being the number 3, maybe even number 4 starter for the Mets. A big boost, in my opinion, for Bassett from a fantasy value here. He's leaving a pitcher's park in Oakland, I know that, but the new home he has in Citi Field is also very pitcher friendly. He joins a team that's trying to win now, a revamped lineup, and Oakland, where he was going to be pitching, is a team that is probably going to finish at the bottom of their division. Bassett, 1 year left on his deal. Mets get him now, where they get a full year from him, as opposed to trading for him in July, where they only get a couple months. Really good move by the Mets. Have possibly the deepest, or one of the deepest rotations in Major League Baseball, and arguably the best top 3 now in Major League Baseball. White Sox sign relief pitcher Joe Kelly and utility man, likely second baseman Josh Harrison. Kelly joins an already loaded bullpen. Probably doesn't have much fantasy value, considering he would need multiple injuries to different players to get save opportunities, but he is a veteran presence, a guy who's been there, done that in the playoffs, in the World Series, and he's going to certainly help out in that bullpen. Craig Kimbrell still expected to be traded from the White Sox, by the way. With Josh Harrison, though, value went up big time with this move. He joins one of the best lineups in Major League Baseball. I mentioned likely to play second base more often than not. That role was going to go to Lurie Garcia, who I was taking late in some drafts. No interest really in Garcia anymore, but with Harrison filling in at second base most of the time, he gets a bump. He could also fill in at third or in the outfield from time to time as well. This is a guy you should be targeting 20th round or so in your 15-team leagues. The Houston Astros signed utility man Nico Goodrum. Signing definitely puts Goodrum on the map for the 2022 baseball season. He can play all over the infield, in the outfield as well, which makes him a good fit for the Astros, considering right now they do not have a shortstop, with Carlos Correa being a free agent, and the center field job really isn't claimed by anyone at this point. Lots of options, no true starting center fielder, though. So that gives Goodrum an opportunity to compete for either one of those roles, joining a lineup that is very talented in Houston. He has stolen base potential, and he might be a nice late-round flyer for you in your fantasy leagues. Rockies signed relief pitcher Alex Colomé, and he's about to see a massive boost in his ADP. He's now the most established closer the Rockies have, and is the immediate favorite to take over for saves. Even bad teams get saves, folks, and at some point, Colomé likely to be traded to a contender. He would lose that closer's job, but for the first 3 to 4 months of the year, he will be the guy to rack up saves, and although the ratios might be ERA of 5, whip close to 1.5, he can still get you 20 to 25 saves, and 20 to 25 saves goes a long way in fantasy baseball, especially in your roto leagues. Minnesota Twins continue to stay busy. They acquire Sonny Gray from the Cincinnati Reds, and it's a pretty shocking move. Not that Gray was traded, but that the Twins were the team to do it. They're not thought of as a team trying to win now, but looks like they might be. They struck the earlier deal for Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. Again, more on that. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, I should say. But now podcast. I'm Hector at Dr. Rodon. You can find all my .com. Check out our draft guide on sale now. Will still be on sale over the weeks. Don't forget to get that drafts today. Gonna lock out free agent in Major League Baseball and the players. Bunch of stuff happened really in the last show. We'll start with Rodon signing with the San Francisco year, $44 million. He put together 2021, but the fantasy value going to San Francisco, strong team when it comes to acquiring the best out of them. It helped ballparks in all of, and looking issue really is injury. Number of them throughout his big time strikeout pitcher the month of July last year before hit around 100 away. That's good, but the innings you're going to get, so a really nice deal. And if you have Rodon shares, you're drafting soon, you can as an SP1, maybe because you might only get the 100, but a really, really good, a solid SP2 who you can with another on a bit of an innings limit or relief pitcher as well. On very sure, another lefty goes west, stays west, all re-signing with the Los Angeles. Not much of a surprise here. Going to come down to his hometown, Texas. Not the pitcher he once was. Pretty solid season, half ERA, 9.5, very good 3. Does come now 34 years old, has taken him back over the past few. He only threw 121. With all that being said, though, I told you about with the strikeout, seems to show that he still he pitches. And concerns are why you're getting him at drafts. This guy used to SP1 price, SP2 option, 120, 130 in quality innings. So, in Kershaw, they could trade Mitch Garver, Falefa, and more. But from the Rangers stand, everyday catcher in Garver, 20-plus homers, who could probably somewhere between, and Corey splitting up those lefty spot, which is a really perspective. Rangers standpoint as well, Falefa does open, maybe it's Nick Sola. He has either way, or these guys to get some more at bat. Questionable playing time for a wasn't, at least at this moment. On the Twins side, the trade of playing time for Ryan Jeffers. For more on that in a bit as well than he did a year ago, have become more complicated. Starting pitcher Yusei Kikuchi, Blue Jays, he's going to provide rotation. They already have Manoah, they have Hyunjin Ryu, so all depth, veteran innings from a fantasy. Kikuchi going to in the AL East in a tough role, but he does join a team that should support one of the best. The move probably be all that much other, so there's not really any guess he will be pitching. So that's the Oakland A's, Bassett to the New York. Bassett being traded has been for the MLB lockout. The A's, and he was one of the main Montage, Sean Manaea, etc. Mets already had into a rotation that Los Carrasco and Ty. Now adding Bassett goes from Oakland to arguably being the 4-starter for the Mets. Opinion for Bassett from leaving a pitcher's new home he has in Citi Field friendly. He joins a team that revamped the lineup where he was probably gonna finish at the bottom. 1 year left on his deal, where they get a full year for him in July, where they only get a couple. And the Mets have deepest rotations in Major League Baseball, top 3 now. Baseball, White Sox, and utility man like Harrison Kelly joined. Probably doesn't have. He would need multiple injuries, save opportunities, but he is there, done that in the playoffs, and he's going to certainly help. Craig Kimbrell still expect. By the way, with Josh Harrison though, with this move, he joins one of the ball I mentioned, likely than not, that Rick Garcia, who I was taking no interest really in Garcia, filling in at second base bump. He could also fill in at third as well. His 20th round or leagues. The Houston Astros Goodrum on the map for the 20, and he can play all over the which makes him a good fit for the now. They do not have a short free agent, and the center field anyone at this point. Lots of options starting center fielder though, so they compete for either one. Joining a lineup that Houston, he has stolen base, a late round flyer leagues. Rockies Colome and boost in his ADP. Closer the Rockies have favorite to take over. 4 teams get saves, folks, and likely to be traded to a closer's job, but he will be the guy to rack up. Ratios might be close to 1.5 saves in 20 to 25 fantasy baseball, especially leagues. Minnesota Twins acquire Sonny Gray from the shocking move. Not that the Twins they're not thought of as a team like they might be. They for Isaiah Falefa at Isaiah Falefa. Now acquiring Sonny Gray, they might be trying to contend the AL Central, but they could potentially, on paper, the Gray and his fantasy value. Friendly ballparks in Minnesota, much more neutral friendly at times. Twins on first round pick Chase Petty. Gray looks to be the Bundy behind him. Joe Ryan for the mix deal here. They Falefa and the playing at least again. He spent 24 to the Yankees with Twins get Gary Sanchez Urshela, and this trade had been linked to Isaiah fast, but get him from the Minnesota Twins, not going to the Bronx.
Thanks for stopping by the office. Get your fantasy prescription by subscribing to the channel and checking out drrodo.com. And until the next visit, be well and take care.